Hi, I am Nikki, and you are listening to the EduLeader podcast. This is a place to celebrate fantastic educators, and this is a place teachers can go to learn about amazing things happening outside their classroom. Thank you for listening to the EduLeader podcast. This is Nikki Hyman, and I am sitting here with my friend Laura Rawlins today, who is an 8th grade math teacher. And Laura is going to talk to us about something that is near and dear to my heart as a special education teacher. And it's something that she uses in her classroom every day as an 8th grade math teacher, and that is data. I feel like that's something that was never really talked about in my undergraduate or really very many of my graduate courses in college. So, Laura, talk to me about how you use data and what kinds of data you use in your classroom.
So data is pretty broad. We could narrow it down into many different avenues. For me, I use my data a lot to make informed decisions about my students, where we need to go in the classroom. I've even gotten down to the point of tracking behavioral data for my students. Being in the middle school, that I see a lot of fluctuation in the math classroom of a lot of gaps. And so I've been using my data, tracking students through interventions, looking at test scores to determine where I need to move as a teacher. And it is not the case of a book front to back or a lesson sequence. Using the data for me has been able to decide which direction I need to move for my students and also for individualized instruction.
I think data is something, it took me a while to learn what the best practices are, I think, as far as data collection and data management in my classroom, because that wasn't something we ever really talked about. And I think as educators, when we talk about data, and see, I got so excited about data that I forgot to let you introduce yourself as a person. Like, that's how much I love data and using that to change instruction. So we'll come back to that. I will let you introduce yourself first, and then we'll talk about data.
Hey, that's okay. So my name is Laura Rawlins. I am an 8th grade math teacher. I have a master's degree in mathematics. So once again, numbers and data is very important to me. I have 2 children who are also nerdy and love numbers like me. I coach cheerleading. So I also do all the MTSS interventions, data coordinating at my school. I'm pretty involved in the numbers world.
That is where you and I are very different, Laura. I hated all things math.
You needed me as a teacher, and we would have developed a love for it.
I'm sure you are right, because it didn't make sense. I didn't have relevance for it. It wasn't until I was teaching and I realized, oh my gosh, if I analyze these specific data points, I can see where I need to improve to best meet the needs of the kids. That was when I grabbed a hold of it, like, oh my gosh, this is the missing piece to the puzzle for students.
Yes, I agree. And that's what I've been doing with data. And you can almost think of it as standards-based data, going through and finding out exactly where a student missed a point, because, math is sequential. It's a building. If you miss one piece, you're going to miss the rest of the pieces. And so for me, going back and tracking and finding the missing skills from the students by using my data and some pretty nifty programs, I'm able to pinpoint exactly where a student missed and try to bridge those gaps. And I've been seeing some pretty amazing results from doing that.
So can you walk me through what is that process? So let's say I am a student in your classroom who is struggling in math, which wouldn't have been, that hard to imagine if I was in a math class in 8th grade. So what would be your process for figuring out how to best help me? Like, how do you do this? Where do you start?
I take you back to kindergarten. I've created an assessment in my classroom that builds starting back to kindergarten, because that's when number concepts and whole numbers are first introduced to you. So I go all the way back to kindergarten. Like I said, I've created an assessment, and I have went through and found the major supporting clusters from each grade. And it goes back to almost like your elementary school grade card reports. Is this satisfactory? Have you met this standard? And I go through and I test the students when I get them, and I find out exactly where we slipped. So they could get to fourth grade, and the big hairy scary fractions start getting introduced in fourth grade with the major operations. And after I've given this assessment, if they have missed fractions in fourth grade, they're going to miss ratios in seventh grade. And so you will see the building process through the assessment I've created for the students. And I can go back to fourth grade and find that missing skill.
And you built this whole assessment yourself?
Back to being that nerdy person. Yes, wow. I have.
That is impressive. So you have basically personalized learning for all of your math students? Is that
yes?
Okay. So how do you manage that? How do you manage this instruction piece?
I'm trying to get it all digitally online for myself. There is one piece of the puzzle that can be a little deceiving. The assessment that I give to students is online. And so if they were to miss a question or get it right from guessing, it would say that they got it right had they not. But the reason why I do it online is because I'm able to export that data, once again, into spreadsheets and analyze the grade as a whole to find out if the entire grade itself missed something in fourth grade, like fractions. And so there are some pieces to it that can be a little skewed. But from what I've found through all this, that the majority of it is correct and where the kids are missing, and not picking on fourth grade. But usually if I find one student who's missing a major cluster, usually the majority of them are.
Wow. I am so impressed. Okay. So you build interventions based on that, I'm assuming.
Yes, I do. We have MTSS at our school, and everyone in the entire school is involved in MTSS, every student. And that's awesome at the middle school level, because we're really trying to get them geared up before they go into high school when math in the real world hit hard.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you progress monitor student success? What does that look like?
I use a computer program. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to write everything, but I do push out the missing standards or the missing concepts. And after having taught them lessons, they are assessed on them. And I'm able to determine mastery. And I usually assess every 2 weeks. So it's pretty frequent, but it's proven that the lower level math skills are easier to pick up as we get older. Even though they have more, it's easier to pick up. And so about every 2 weeks, I progress monitor using a program. I'm not going to name drop any, but but I use the program, and it creates graphs and charts for me, and also logs time that the students have spent on that specific intervention.
Wow. My background is in special education, and we struggle finding math resources for kids. You should totally publish that test that you made.
Yeah, the test was hard, and it's still a working living document, especially since Kansas. They've helped me because they've created the major clusters and what is the 70% of math that you should know in the 8th grade and so on. So I've actually been able to look at the flip charts and kind of cheat a little bit. But I also do create a lot of my own, especially when we back test. So, and things that I find important.
Wow. That is really cool. So I'm just guessing from knowing you that you probably have really strong feelings about people who say things like, I'm not good at math. And because it sounds like, from what I'm hearing you say, is that you are really intentional about making sure that everybody has what they need to be successful. So, and I know that's a problem that people perpetuate that. I'm not good at math myth. So, what do you say to people that are saying, "Well, that's just not me"? How do you address that mindset?
Yeah, I really hate that saying, but any math teacher is going to say that. And that's okay because, fact of the matter is nobody's bad at math. It's the direction you choose to take your math. I could say the same about English. I'm not strong in English. I do not hate it, but I'm not strong in it. For students, when they come to me and say that, I have to find the math that they're going to love. So if that means we got to work out some sporting events and I got a lot of kids who are going to be, I don't know if you knew this, they're going to be professional baseball players. I teach a lot of those. I need to start getting autographs now. But so I will have them research and look up stats, and we'll change that into a math lesson for them. And so I have to find how they're going to love math based off what they like.
I love that, making it meaningful and personalized. We do that in reading and literacy, giving kids the option of what they want to read. But I think people sometimes find it harder to make that applicable to math as well. So that's a great idea.
It is hard because some of the things they're interested in, sometimes I don't quite understand the interest, but I have learned from them by doing this because I'm not a professional baseball player, but they're going to be. But by doing this, I have learned a lot of the baseball lingo. And so I feel a lot cooler when I'm talking to my son at ball games because I feel like I know what they're talking about. And so, the crazy thing is the kids are actually teaching me too.
I love that. I love to learn what the kids are interested in. I think the relationship piece that you're building with kids is probably a huge part of what's making such a positive impact on their math scores. In addition to being so intentional about making sure that all their skills gaps are filled. I'm so impressed with you making that assessment because that's something that we have searched for interventions for a long time because for some reason math is just really hard. I think it's because it's not, like in reading, there's almost like a certain sequence that you can follow roughly. There's some things that overlap, but with math, you've got number sense and algebraic thinking and geometry and all these things overlap from the very beginning, which I think makes it more difficult to pinpoint those skills gaps.
It does. And, a major part of that is as a teacher that I have to remind myself is spiraling. I may teach in 8th grade, I'm going to teach square roots and cube roots. The major thing to remember is I'm not done once I teach it. So it builds and builds and builds. So a couple weeks from now, I need to go back over square and cube roots, even if I am teaching functions. 3 weeks from now, I need to go back over square and cube roots, even if I am teaching functions. Still need to go back over that. Oh, got the Pythagorean theorem. It just doesn't go anywhere. You have got to keep building and going.
I love it. Okay, math is one of those areas that we are having a hard time finding math teachers in the state of Kansas. If you had anything to say to some college student who was thinking maybe they were interested in teaching math, what would be something you would say to them?
I would tell them to talk to other math teachers, talk to other potential math teachers, talk to your professors, because I think people get so intimidated by the word math. And even sometimes when you're looking at the schedule for college and seeing what some of those classes you have to take are, because I would read some of them, I'm like, what? But I think by talking to others and realizing that the reward is worth the effort, when you get to come to teach every day and see the excitement from the kids, when you get to learn from them, learn baseball lingo while working math problems, the effort that I've had to put in to earn a math degree and become a math teacher is totally worth the reward that I get every single day.
I love that. The work is worth the reward. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That is perfect. I love it. Anything else you would like to share about being a teacher leader, or anything else that you wish other teachers knew, math teachers or anybody else?
Just to start each day new. As a human, it is very hard not to drag yesterday into today. I've been guilty of it myself, but every student starts every day new. I need to start every day new, and we just build from there.
I love that. Perfect advice. Thank you very much, Laura, for taking the time to record a podcast for the EduLeader podcast. And I hope you guys enjoyed listening.